During World War II, the might of the U.S. military seemed almost unparalleled. Yet, even with such power, the unpredictable forces of nature often dwarfed the capabilities of American weaponry. At the close of World War II, America's military prowess was unmatched, ready to tackle any military challenge worldwide. Yet, despite having fleets of warplanes and naval ships, legions of soldiers, and an arsenal of tanks, trucks, and emerging atomic power, the inexorable might of the natural world always overshadowed America's war capabilities. Nature's unpredictability and its elemental forces constantly tested the American military. The World War II campaigns in the Aleutians, the North Atlantic, and the Eastern Front were profoundly shaped by the vagaries of weather. Yet, the years 1944 and 1945 saw unique natural challenges across all war theaters. On January 25, 1944, the Marine Fighter Squadron VMF for 22 embarked from Tarawa towards Funafuti. Early into their flight, the squadron was confronted by a massive storm cloud reaching up to 30,000 feet. Trying to navigate through, they skimmed just above the raging 50-foot ocean waves. The electric fury of the storm soon rendered their radios and instruments useless, leaving them disoriented. Several pilots lost contact with the main squadron. John Hansen, a Marine pilot, emerged as the sole fortunate one, landing his plane safely at Funafuti. Among the main squadron, Lieutenant Chris Lausen faced engine issues and had to crash-land amidst the raging waves. As fuel supplies dwindled, the other pilots also met a watery fate. That day, VMF for 22 faced decimation, with 6 of its pilots vanishing without a trace. In a distant corner, amidst the intense battles of Italy, Mount Vesuvius erupted. The primary victims of its March 23 outburst were the B-25 bombers stationed at Pompey Airfield, right at the volcano's foot. The 340th Bombardment Group managed to evacuate, sparing human lives, but their fleet was not as lucky. Around 88 aircraft were destroyed as the eruption spewed scorching ash and stone fragments, incinerating control equipment, wrecking engine parts, and melting plexiglass structures. Sergeant Robert F. McRae penned in his journal, on arriving at the airport on the 26th, devastation was everywhere. Tents ripped apart, and 88 planes obliterated, aircraft worth $25 million. Jerry must have rejoiced. In the same year, Germany made one final thrust in the west. Their early gains were, in part, due to the dense clouds enveloping the Ardennes, immobilizing the potent Allied air squadrons. With reconnaissance reduced and American fighter-bombers grounded, the German troops seized the moment. This offensive, later termed the Battle of the Bulge, began on December 16, 1944. However, the tide changed in the Allies' favor when the skies cleared, allowing Allied aviators to reclaim control. Meanwhile, as the German onslaught began in Europe, the Pacific was facing a storm of its own. Admiral Bull Halsey, however, decided to keep Task Force 38 anchored in the Philippine Sea, dismissing the impending tropical cyclone. The Typhoon Cobra fiercely hit the fleet. On December 18, 1944, 3 American destroyers succumbed to the fierce waves and submerged. Aircraft carriers tilted dangerously, causing planes, spare machinery, and other equipment to clash within the hangar decks, sparking fires and shattering water pipes. On the outer decks, tempestuous winds of 100 knots ripped apart radar fixtures, communication towers, and even a sturdy 20 mm gun platform. By the storm's end, 790 American servicemen had perished, several warships were impaired, and about 146 aircraft were crushed, twisted, or simply hurled overboard. It seemed Japan's legendary Divine Wind had made a comeback, but it still couldn't fully halt the U.S. Navy. Oddly enough, Halsey and part of the Third Fleet faced another typhoon in June 1945. While Typhoon Connie wasn't as devastating as Cobra, it still claimed the lives of 7 U.S. sailors and damaged 100 aircraft. Amidst towering waves, the heavy cruiser USS Pittsburgh, CA-72, saw a staggering 110 feet of her bow sheared off. Carriers USS Hornet, CV-12, and USS Bennington, CV-20, witnessed the foremost 24 feet of their flight decks being compressed by the immense weight of surging seawater. Yet, it wasn't just the naval fleet that bore the brunt of the storm. Earlier, when Connie was just forming, a large contingent of P-51 Mustang fighters inadvertently flew into its trajectory. Iwo Jima's island base dispatched 148 fighters on June 1, 1945, accompanied by a few B-29s to help navigate the extensive journey to Japanese targets. They soon confronted an imposing barrier of towering cumulonimbus clouds. The B-29 teams, notably at ease in their vast, quad-engine giants, tried to shepherd the compact fighter planes through a brief gap nestled between immense cloud walls. But, suddenly, the walls converged. The Mustang squadrons tightened their ranks and dove headlong into obscurity. Within the churning depths of the tempest, one group of planes overlapped another. As fighters veered, ascended, descended, and spiraled, trying to dodge sudden glimpses of fellow American crafts that loomed in the murk. In fleeting intervals of clarity, distressed aviators observed parachutes and remains of Mustangs descending towards the turbulent waters below. Merely a few fighters reached their intended locations near Osaka, Japan. The majority retreated. 3 of those who fell endured Black Friday to soar again. Lieutenant Lawrence Grennan was close to returning to base, ejecting merely 10 miles away from Iwo Jima. Lieutenant Thomas Harrigan was detected by a PBY and was rescued by a vessel after spending 2 days in the ocean. Lieutenant Arthur A. Burry escaped his plane and braved Typhoon Connie in a small life raft, solo. Astoundingly, after being adrift for 7 days, he was spotted by the submarine USS Trutter, SS, for 21. Unfortunately, 24 other Mustang pilots vanished without a trace. Weather interfered in the waning days of the conflict. After the nuclear devastation of Hiroshima, another B-29 was en route to Japan, carrying a second atomic device on August 9, 1945. Poor visibility due to clouds and smoke from prior U.S. strikes veiled the initial target. Consequently, the B-29 transporting the nuclear weapon, dubbed Fat Man, bypassed Kokura and set course to the southwest. At 11:02 local time, this second bomb exploded 1,650 feet above Nagasaki. While adversaries like Italy, Germany, and eventually Japan faced downfall, the forces of nature remained untamed. Only a few days prior to the official surrender ceremonies in Tokyo Bay, Typhoon Helen, a Category 3 storm, damaged the front of the USS Wasp, CV-18. Despite losing the forward 30 feet of her flight deck, the carrier persisted in dispatching aircraft for patrols. The subsequent tempest, a Category 2 named Typhoon Ursula, emerged a week later, causing 6 cargo planes ferrying POWs from Okinawa to Manila to crash. Tragically, this resulted in the loss of over 120 servicemen. The relentless battle against nature remains unannounced, even into the 21st century. In 2008, torrential downpours on Guam led to the destruction of a B-2 bomber after dampness compromised its air data sensors, resulting in an expensive mishap. By 2018, Tyndall Air Force Base felt the wrath of Hurricane Michael, inflicting damage on 17 Lockheed Martin F-22 jets that remained on the premises. The repair bill came in at $6 billion. The next year saw the engorged Missouri River inundating Offutt Air Force Base, leading to a staggering $420 million in repair costs. Empowered by determination, technology, and resilience, the U.S. Armed Forces persistently march onward, ever aware that they cannot truly vanquish Mother Nature. Their aspiration is merely to withstand her.